how do I do this in a huge scale? Because I was seeing these entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Bill Gates be more present, socialize better, communicate better, be more motivated, trying to make money in different ways.
His perspective is that aging is a disease.
Waiting in line in the clinic, being around sick people. I've always wanted to be a doctor without being a doctor.
The licensed nurses, doctors, all that, they would just be able to basically join your network.
I will be very successful.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. Let's just talk about the mentality of working for a startup company. What led you to even want to do that? And what's it like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel that I've had this mentality since I was a kid. I always knew that I wanted to build something, develop my own business. Even when I was a little child, my favorite toy was building Legos. So as I progressed through life, this idea of building something that is my own always resonated, and combining that with wanting to have freedom in my life in terms of choosing my own schedule, making decisions on my own, and being responsible for the outcomes was always very appealing to me, as well as how does what I build impact others. And I've always had this desire to affect people's life. First, it was a desire of how do I do this in a huge scale, because I was seeing these entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Bill Gates that develop products which affect millions of people's life. And now as I have matured, that desire turned into how can I affect people around me, and how do I influence people in a positive way regardless of the quantity. Yeah, and that's why I started my company with my founders who had a similar vision as I did. Now we are in the process of finding or reaching out to investors so that we can raise funds and go full-time at it, since we've been bootstrapping since the start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is such a cool idea. A business is almost like the ultimate creative expression, because it's like you putting out something into the world that is then used by many people. And in the best case, it's a net positive for the world, because a business is someone's going to pay for your services. And if they're paying for it, that likely means it's giving them more value than the money they're giving you. So that means that there's so much that's being created by having your business exist. So it's a very cool concept.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a business growing up? Did you have a lemonade stand or something like that you did?
Yeah, not really.
No.
It was more of trying to make money in different ways.
Mm-hmm. What were those?
If I had a lab in chemistry, I would sell the services of me doing the lab work for others. Or if I had some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I would make profit from those Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Or as a kid, it was collecting what's called the albums, where you have little stamps for the World Cup.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure how do you say that in English.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Those football albums that you collect stickers and then fill them out. So
and you'd sell the stickers?
Trade them, sell them, and make a profit. So it was always how do I make money out of things, but never a product.
Never a formal business.
Like a formal business, yeah.
Yeah. I always had the itch, and I had different ideas, but I never really... The only one I went in on was in high school. I started to actually try to sell basically thrift clothes and then sell them on eBay. And I was never that successful with it. I sold some stuff, but the amount of shit I bought was I bought so much stuff. And then I just left it in the garage at my parents' house.
So a lot of clothes.
Yeah. So that was like the only thing I really tried, the only business thing.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.
You have to, and like
It's
that's just like doing something, even if it makes you no money. It's like it's a really good experience as a kid. I also wanted to start I think it was like a soccer or football league. So like American football. I wanted to start a league in my neighborhood, and then I just never actually got around to doing it. It was like a few days I was really excited. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get all these kids to sign up, and like they're going to pay for it. But yeah, it didn't end up.
It's never too late. I'm down to
I could start a
build
new
a league
league.
with you.
I'm actually in a flag football league right now.
Oh, nice.
That shit is so fun.
Nice. How's that going?
It's really good. I get sore every time though. I've had 2 games, and running around in cleats is like really hard on your body if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of impact.
Yes, it's a ton of impact. It's a lot of changing directions.
Yeah.
So last week it was my groin was like destroyed for like 2 days afterward.
Yeah, especially those muscles
Yep.
that you don't usually work out by lifting weights. Those rotators, stabilizers.
They're getting hit.
Yeah.
Like it was the end of the game, and I like, if the game hadn't ended there, I think I would have had to like sit out because I could not move. I could barely walk.
Oh, saved by the bell.
Yes, yeah. It's perfect timing. Yeah, okay. So that's very cool. And your business is in healthcare. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I love when people ask.
Yeah.
My eyes just sparkle. We offer healthcare services at the patient's home, sort of like an Uber model for healthcare services in primary healthcare. So medical consultations, laboratory exams. We take the blood samples or other samples and then deliver the results online, and the medications as well. And that's our starting point. But this business model helps us scale and venture into other services. So what's really important for us as well is integrating nutrition and lifestyle coaching as well, since that is a big part of getting healthy for most of the chronic illnesses going on. So wanting to integrate that as well. But at the moment, we're focusing on these 3 main services, which is at-home care and telemedicine, laboratory exams, and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, I wonder if there are more. There could be like, I'm just thinking about this now. I used to work at Epic. Do you know Epic?
Yeah, the electronic medical records.
Yes, exactly. And I was on the home health and hospice team. So we did this.
Oh, nice.
And so I went on a few trips where we would go and like shadow nurses in the field. And so we got to do some of that. And honestly, it was pretty rough because it was usually people who like couldn't leave their house.
Yeah, mobility issues.
So it was kind of like sad to see, but I'm curious if there is a use case like for normal people that might, like people who just don't want to go to the doctor. Because you go to the doctor and like you gotta like sit in the room and wait for the doctor. You like it takes you 30 minutes to get in.
Wow, maybe you should be our spokesperson.
Maybe actually.
That's a great point.
And then
go ahead.
You got to think about, you don't need the space anymore. You don't have to pay rent for a clinic. You just send the nurses or doctors out.
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's so scalable, because you don't have ties to that physical space.
Yep.
So you can expand throughout many cities with this model. And from what you mentioned of the primary audience of these services would be people with mobility issues, so the elderly or people with disabilities. However, it is also a great service for anyone that wants better convenience and faster service. Waiting in line in the clinic, being around sick people. It's just being in traffic. It's just a bad experience. We've all experienced it. And the feedback we've gotten from our patients has been really gratifying, since they love our service, they love our convenience. And a lot of our patients have been just people that have the flu or get dengue or whatever the illness is. At the moment, most of our patients are people with acute illnesses, the cold, the flu, whatever. But we're definitely trying to expand on people with chronic conditions, diabetes, hypertension, that kind of stuff. So that's where our efforts are focused right now.
So getting just like a regular, any kind of doctor visit, turning that into a at-home thing, or telehealth.
Yeah, I feel there's a good balance between telehealth and in-person care.
Mm-hmm.
Building the rapport with your doctor and your doctor getting to know you in person is really important. And telehealth fits in when it's a follow-up, or it's something that does not require that much time or the doctor to be there with you or do a in-person examination.
Mm-hmm.
So combining both, I think, is the best strategy.
I was in the car and my girlfriend had to do some telehealth thing, and it was crazy. Like it took like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
the doctor was just like, boom, 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 boom. Are you having this? Are you having this? Are you having this? She was like, no, I'm seeing this and this and this. And then she was like, okay, here's what you're going to do. Do this, 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 this. Like at that speed talking.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. I've experienced it myself. And I was like, oh, really? I guess that's why it's so cheap.
Yeah, she's in a rush.
They're cramming like so many appointments, and the doctors don't really have the interest because it's so much. They
Mm-hmm.
get overloaded. And that method, telehealth, would be good if you just need an appointment to get a quick checkup of what you already spoke about, or if you need a receta. How do you say that in English? How you get your medication?
Prescription?
A prescription.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, if you need a refill on your prescription, that would be...
That's the time for that.
Yeah, that's the time for that.
Much easier than having to be in person.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And so then the licensed nurses, doctors, all that, they would just be able to basically join your network of the company.
Yes.
And then be able to pick up clients that way.
Yes. We started with a contracting method. So the medical provider is our contractor, sort of like Uber and the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But we are exploring having them as employees, or having a mixed of both.
Hiring some on full time as like W-2 employees.
Yeah. It just really depends on the demand.
Right.
And what's the best way to meet that demand without having gaps in the service, because we promise that the doctor or the medical provider would arrive as soon as in an hour of booking. So like very quick arrivals on demand.
Right. That's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, better than in clinic. You can your appointment is 1-2 days ahead.
I don't know if I could, even if I went to like urgent care, I don't know if I could get to see a doctor within an hour. That's really impressive. So what's been the shift in you working? Have you always been entrepreneurial, or did you have a full-time job before? I've
had a full-time job throughout this whole process.
Okay.
But I've always been entrepreneurial at the same time.
Uh-huh.
We've been bootstrapping our company.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't paid ourselves. We've paid employees and whatnot. But that's why we're trying to raise funds to be able to go full time and also invest in more marketing so that we can scale.
And do you primarily focus on marketing?
Marketing and product design and whatever needs to be done.
Okay.
But we definitely would like to divide and conquer between our co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
And since my expertise as a career is in marketing, it's been my focus, but at the same time building the product in terms of the UX UI design and the services, improving the service itself, like the guidelines for the doctors and whatnot, collaborating with our chief medical officer on that, trying to improve the experience.
How did you meet your co-founders?
It's a great question. It was kindergarten.
You've just always known.
Yeah, no, it's they went to school with me. Wow. And our school started from kindergarten towards high school. Mm-hmm. One of my business partners even went to college with me. So we've been together for a long time. We're best friends. So it's a good deal.
It's all the day one homies.
Yeah, day one homies.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And do you all kind of like take separate paths that kind of like all work together now?
Mm.
Or like, what's the skill set like?
Yeah, so one of my business partners went to Costa Rica. He was studying medicine there, and he did not complete his all medical school, but he did get some sort of, I don't know when he left, but he did graduate from studying the science.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the details. And yeah, then he went back to Honduras and started working on us a healthcare product. That was our 1.0. And my other business partner, who went to college with me as well, he built his own agency with my other business partner, so they had their own marketing agency for a while. He's also into marketing, but he focuses more on the design part, on the creative parts. And when I was waiting for my residency papers in Honduras, I was sponsored the green card from my job, so I had to wait a year to get back to the United States to reside here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's my time. I've been building business models, been working on being an entrepreneur. I'm gonna start a real estate company because my dad is in real estate, and my other business partner has had his healthcare startup, which was just starting. We had joined forces 2015. We were still college students. We went to Founder Institute, which is an incubator. So a famous incubator around the world. And they had a chapter in Costa Rica. And we already were working on different businesses, a real estate company and a music sharing company. I'm not going to go into details, but then when I came back, we were like, hey, let's join forces. It just makes sense. And so we did, and we started an epic for healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting with the medical records, a chat system, a booking system. Then we realized the market was saturated and we had no differentiator. So we pivoted into our own service, which is what it evolved to and what we're working on now. Yeah.
What was your real estate business?
It was basically a Zillow.
Just
no
like an
differentiator.
MLS kind of thing.
An MLS kind of thing. It was earlier on,
Uh-huh.
so they weren't as big as they are now.
Are you interested in real estate, or was it just that your dad's influence kind of made you think of it?
I was mainly interested in being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever industry that I could grow an interest in,
right.
I was okay with. But health did resonate with me because of personal challenges that I had, and I've always wanted to be a doctor without being a doctor.
Yeah.
Just liked the science behind it.
Are you interested in any of that like longevity stuff that's out there now?
Brian Johnson,
Yeah,
never die.
Don't die.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with dying, but definitely want to live a healthy, long life.
I'm okay with dying, but I'd rather not.
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, not afraid of the outcome, Will. Yeah, it is. I think Brian Johnson's approach is interesting, not because of trying not to die, but because in the attempt of living forever or not dying, there's a lot of discoveries that can be made in terms of how to live a healthier life.
Yeah.
And how to reduce the probabilities of falling into any chronic illness or age becoming a real problem, which it does for everyone at the end of your life. You die not because you're old, but because something fails or something stops working properly.
Right.
So what is the way to slow down that process and live a more healthier, fulfilled life?
Yeah. Have you heard of David Sinclair?
I have, but
he's another one of these.
Yeah.
His perspective is that aging is a disease, and all these other things like cancer, heart disease, diabetes are just symptoms of this disease.
Yeah.
Of aging.
Yeah, it's a good perspective.
And so his idea is like, you don't need to age. Like, we have this idea that like aging is inevitable, and he's like, well, not exactly. Like, there are ways to combat it and ways to not age, but the fact that we don't take it seriously as we just accept it
Yeah.
means that there isn't science going into like, okay, but how can we
Yeah.
not age or at least slow it down?
I agree with that. Slow it down because we do have, well, like Brian Johnson's explained, our body ages at, our biological clock is different than our chronological age, and our organs age at a different rate. But that being said, our chromosomes have something at the end of the chromosome called telomeres,
Mm-hmm.
which throughout, as our cells reproduce, they start shortening and shortening. And by the end, our telomeres are left lacking. So that is a measurement of age, and there's nothing you can do without, at the moment, any genetic intervention. So you would just slow down that process
Right.
through lifestyle choices.
What are like your health protocols, ways of living? How do you eat? How do you
love
exercise?
that question. Yeah, I mean, I try my best. I'm not perfect. Stay in caloric maintenance, or if I want to bulk up, gain more muscle, a little bit of a caloric surplus and mainly protein because of my goals of building muscle. A lot of people speak about eating clean, but that is it's a very generalized term. It is, how can I provide my body with the nutrients it needs? And if I choose with the nutrients, I need to optimize my health in terms of less inflammation, stuff like that. So avoid fast foods,
Mm-hmm.
but not completely. Like if one day I'm like, oh, Chick-fil-A sounds good right now, it's like, fuck yeah. But I just avoid it because honestly, I subconsciously train my brain not to like it. So it's like I don't crave it. I don't get cravings anymore. I avoid sugar as much as possible. One, because I trained myself not to like it, and I'm conscious that eating high amounts of sugar or carbs creates more appetite, more cravings, and that creates a surplus of calories. And in terms of habits, screen time is a big thing. I try to balance my dopaminergic system, meaning understanding how much I exert and how much I generate and not overexerting. My morning routines, not looking at screens in the morning, looking at the sunlight first thing in the morning, praying, being thankful for the things that are going on in my life. Then small wins like making my bed and quick exercises to correct my posture, stuff like that are really important. And at night, which was the era I was failing in the most because of my entrepreneurial mindset and grind mindset. I was, okay, done, going to sleep.
Yeah.
Now I have my wind down routine, which
Mm-hmm.
is really important. I either shower, no lights or very dim lights. I either shower before bed or go for a walk, which I sometimes get scared because I go for a walk with my sunglasses because outside there's a lot of artificial lights,
Mm-hmm.
and my hoodie, and then I put a beanie just to cover the upper
The
side
top.
of my eyes, and I look like I'm gonna mug someone.
Yeah.
So I get worried I'll get stopped one day. It's like, who are you? What are you doing here?
Like, I'm just trying to go to bed.
Yeah, I'm just
I
trying
swear.
to go to bed. I'm just winding down, man. Or I've been reading fiction at night, especially Harry Potter. Been having some magical dreams. Yeah, and it's been really transformative. I wake up with more energy and less depleted. Speaking of that dopaminergic regulation, I just am careful when and where I spend my dopamine so I can be more present, socialize better, communicate better, be more motivated, and less burnt out.
Yeah, there's so much in that.
Yeah, I packed it all.
Let me think what I was going to say. Okay, the morning thing. So this morning I managed to not use my phone until I had gone to the gym, come back, did breath work and meditated, and then checked my phone.
Right.
So it was pretty good. The only
Nice.
thing is Gold's gym, I have to use it for the scanner.
Oh,
They don't have like a physical,
yeah.
but that was the only thing. And that felt really good. That was like that was nice to not have. Whenever I check my phone in the morning, it's like just shit
Yeah.
I feel like I have to do or have to respond to. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
God, this day sucks already.
Just increases your cortisol
Yeah.
and
So that was super nice. Yeah, and I was going to say about the food thing. It's interesting when you remove certain things, and this goes for fast food, different forms of entertainment. It could be like drugs, porn, anything like that. When you remove it and you're not used to it, like the cravings go away because your brain just learns. We don't do that.
yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I don't crave Chick-fil-A because I know I don't eat that.
Yeah.
And so
Change the mindset.
when you eat it all the time, of course your brain's going to be like, oh, I'm bored. Chick-fil-A sounds good. That would be really fun to have Chick-fil-A right now.
Right. It remembers what spikes your dopamine.
Yep. And it almost keeps, someone on the podcast put this in really neat terms, but it was like your brain keeps like a proximity thing of like, what are my current go-tos for dopamine?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are currently a regular like vapor or whatever else, YouTube watcher, your brain has those as closer options because it's a habit.
Yeah.
And so then your brain's like, okay, if I'm bored, I can go to YouTube or I can hit the vape if I feel anxious. And if you can just separate yourself from those things a little bit by not doing them for some time, you have to just be aware that that will go away.
Yeah.
As you stop doing it, your brain kind of forgets and lets go of those.
Yeah. Your brain is great at understanding how it gets its rewards.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes both ways. So that's a great point. How do you remove the triggers? Either by setting blockers in your phone or making it less colorful and attractive. So I use the grayscale, no brightness thing. And it's like, oh, my phone's so boring.
It's very boring.
I just don't want to look at my phone. Or in the other way, if you want to play the guitar and you got to go to the other room to get the guitar and then get it up, it just makes it a lot harder. So just put the guitar right next to you so that it has easy access. So how do you make things easier for you, areas you want to create or build, and how do you make things harder for you where you want to remove those
where you don't want to do that thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm thinking of, and I think I just am connecting this now. In high school, I would be hanging out with my girlfriend after school, and I would have some homework thing I had to do, and I would be like, "Can you just like get the stuff out of my backpack for me?" Because I didn't want to do I was like, I can either get the stuff out or I can do the homework, but I like something about that friction in between just makes me not want to do the homework.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like that little amount of friction was just enough for me to like not want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, removing anything that's in your way of doing things that you want to do.
Definitely. It's making decisions takes a lot of mental energy. I think it's one of the things that takes most mental energy.
Mm-hmm.
And removing yourself from making that decision by making it convenient just allows you to decide to allocate your decision making energy, mental energy, towards things that you need more. For instance, that's why Steve Jobs wore the same shirt every day. He didn't have to decide what color to wear. It was just like, yep, same shirt every day. Yeah, so you can focus on what really matters.
Yeah, it's very true. I had something else I was thinking about, and now it's completely gone. Oh, yeah. Building in like rewards. So for me, the nighttime thing has come up lately, just because I've been working on stuff that I like genuinely am excited about. And so I'm like, oh, I want to keep working. What's going on? Whereas before I was like, I was working in my normal job and I didn't care that much. So it was easy to just put it away and go to bed.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, I actually enjoy working. So I have to like intentionally like put a bedtime for myself. Like this is when I'm going to start getting ready for bed, do all that.
Yeah, because you get into this flow state.
Yeah. And it's just like late night, it gets going. Like my brain is just like, fuck yeah. These are like free hours. I didn't even know I could work.
There's no one's disturbing you. It's like, it's just you and your work.
But something I'm trying to start doing is I do the aura tracking. And I just write down my aura score every day. I have like a habit chart I use. And one of the columns or one of the rows, I just write my sleep score. And having that there every day is just like an overall awareness. So I can't hide from it.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like if I want to sleep shitty, if I want to like stay up working and not get good sleep, I'm going to know.
Yeah.
There's no hiding from it.
Yeah. It's accountability.
So I think, and then similar, like if you have like a goal of losing weight or going to the gym, like put that in front of you. I think weighing yourself every day is a great, it's a great way. It's not like you need to actually know the weight every day, but it's just like you have to be aware that this is a goal of yours.
Yeah.
So me checking my sleep score is more than just like, oh, how did I sleep last night? It's more of like a
goal.
This is a reminder that I want to sleep better.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a great frame and a great way to use it, because there's the other side of using smart devices to measure your health, which it becomes counterproductive when you start seeing negative consequences by not meeting what you want. Like, right. oh, my aura says that I didn't sleep well, and then through placebo, you're like, I don't feel well because I didn't sleep well. And to be honest, your body is the best way of measuring how you're doing. If you feel sleepy, it's because you didn't sleep well. But if you do it with intentions to set it as a reminder or as a goal, and don't let the outcome affect how you perceive it in terms of placebo, I think that's a very smart way to use those tools.
Yeah. One other form of guidance I've heard is, so I think ideally the best way to use these is to just check it on like a nightly basis. You know, like in the evening, I would check it and be like, oh, okay, this is how I slept last night.
Right.
Then there's no risk of like ruining a day because it says I didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
Because that's certainly true. There are days where I'm like, oh, I feel good today. I actually feel really alert. And then I check it and it's like 60. And then I'm like, oh, no, I feel like shit. I feel awful. But one other thing is definitely not to check it right when you wake up. I've heard that before, because your brain gets this, like, when you repeatedly check your sleep score right after waking up, your brain builds up like an anticipatory response where it is getting ready to see that.
Right.
Because there can be like a spike of anxiety when you check it.
Yeah.
And then that actually can bleed into your sleep itself.
Yeah.
Where like
exactly
30 minutes before you wake up, your brain is already like waking up and being like, we're about to check the score. We got like, get ready for some anxiety. So I think certainly pushing back, if you are going to use Aura, Whoop, any kind of sleep tracker, push that time back further into the day when you actually check it. Yeah. I have red light glasses for nighttime. Do you use those or just the sunglasses?
Yeah, I use them. I don't know if the ones that I bought are quality. Is this really working?
Is this doing anything?
Yeah, but they definitely do work if you buy quality red light filtered glasses.
Yeah, mine are like tinted red. Like I don't know if they're high quality. They weren't like expensive. They were like maybe $15. But like if I look at something blue, it's like not blue. So I can't see blue light from them, but hopefully that's blocking all of it.
Yeah, we'll test them all.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anything blue?
Shine a blue light in my eyes.
I guess I don't really use them as much because I already just turn off the lights 2 hours, and if I'm watching a screen, it already has
the night shift
and the minimum amount of brightness that I can get. And for my reading light, I use a very warm light, which has the opposite effect. It helps produce melatonin rather than haunt it.
Right. So what is that 2 hours? You said 2 hours is when you turn off the light.
2 or 3 depends, but yeah.
Depending on the day.
Recommended is an hour before.
What does that 2 hours look like? Like, what is your wind down routine?
So after eating dinner, I perhaps go for a walk or do a little stretching or whatever, just to help me digest. And then I start winding down. usually I'm working at night, which is something I've been trying to avoid, but I just can't. Just gotta work. So do a little work. I usually would want to do more creative work at night rather than use a lot of my brain power to do more reasoning tasks. I've been writing, like I told you, so do some writing, and after that, 30 minutes or an hour before bed, just reading or shower or a walk.
Just like those real low stimulus kind of stuff.
Well, and actually sometimes I do watch a YouTube video or something related to learning in those 2 hours, but not in that 1 hour before bed.
Okay. So there's phases. There's phases of the wind down.
Yeah, phases.
Like the first hour is just no light, but just like
do something, but
do
no
something
light.
Creative maybe.
Yeah.
Or just like taking in, and then the hour right before is like almost nothing. It's like read, shower, walk.
Yes.
Okay.
At least I try to. Sometimes it's just, oh man, it's already too late and I want to sleep.
Right. It goes off the rails sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure. What do you do when you have things in the night? In like, say you're out doing something. Does it just, you just kind of take that case by case?
Yeah, case by case. This is a challenge because if I have an event and I socialize, I usually use my dopamine and use my other neurochemicals, so my brain is active and I don't feel like winding down. So it has become a challenge.
Yep.
Sometimes I just smoke weed to wind down after socializing. I don't know. I think it's a challenge that I have not gotten over.
Yeah,
it's after
it's
going
a
to
hard
events.
one.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. And a lot of the times there's like bright lights and stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of there's a men's group I go to Tuesday evenings, and it's 7 to 9. And so it's not like crazy late, but I try when I'm home, in the evening, I like to get to bed by 10. And that's just not realistic, because if I get home at like 9:30, then I'm amped up, like we were talking about. There's like bright lights in the room, so I'm wide awake.
Right.
And then it takes me a while to like really even want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's an interesting one. I think definitely shutting the lights off is good. Just having dim lights. Reading is always like been my go-to. Like I read. I don't think I've heard advice that's like you shouldn't read in bed, but I do because I love it. It's like I read until I feel sleepy and then I just go right to sleep.
Yeah. I guess, if it's your wind down routine and you fall asleep, you definitely want to use your bedroom just for sleeping.
Yes, I have heard that.
Sex, unless you like doing it on the couch.
That'd be funny if you didn't. Be like, we can only have sex in the shower or the couch.
Sorry, baby, we can't use our bedroom. Got the shower though.
Yeah. Okay, but yes, sleeping and sex is what I've heard as well. But I just can't get over. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that I don't want to like lay down and then be wide awake. And so I like to have like a fallback, which is like, I can read my book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard like you want to build that mental connection, the association of like your bed is just for sleep.
Right. Going for a walk, I think, is a good alternative as well. So that you wind down, you're not using your phone, you're just walking, and it's sort of meditative as well. Yeah,
I usually do like a kind of I always do this like kind of journaling brain dump almost. I have a rule for myself that I just have to write one full page every night, and it can be the stupidest shit. Like it doesn't have to be good or coherent, but I just have to write it out. So
nice. Yeah,
that's been a cool
brain dump
exercise too. Okay, let's talk about your writing. So you've been writing a book about your learnings, right? And your life experiences.
Yeah. I call it a book because I am writing it as a book, but without the intentions of publishing or without an audience in mind. It's basically a journal, which I go through my whole life and identify the challenges that I've gone through and the lessons that I've learned from them. at the same time, understanding how to build a story arc, how to build character development and narrative beats, just to practice writing and to practice storytelling. And it's just come along pretty well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had anyone read it, so it might be crap. But
are you planning to share it? Like, even if you don't publish it?
Yeah. Whoever wants to read it, and
it'll be available.
You're gonna be the first person.
Okay.
That's why I tell everyone.
I'll read it and I'll be like, this sucks. Why'd you do this?
Get back to marketing, Diego.
So what are like the big things you've rediscovered in this process of like auditing your life and considering it in this new way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel there are the 3 lessons that I believe have impacted me the most is learning, in terms of how to learn, in terms of why I like learning, and how to navigate information in this current age of the information crisis, of half-truths and misinformation all around. And the other lesson is something we spoke about briefly in our conversation about balancing mental energy, the dopaminergic system, which also ties into another lesson, which is understanding that our mood changes for several reasons: sleep, our endocrine system, meaning our hormones, and any external factors that are going on that influence our decision making and how we perceive things. We can have the most amazing day and feel like shit just because we didn't sleep, and we didn't eat well, or we watched TV all night and slept watching TV and then woke up and saw our screens. And the combination of that just affects your day, even though if it's an amazing sunny day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to start with my relationship to learning, I've always loved learning. I just love consuming information and understanding things. I'm very curious. However, in school, and I think many people might resonate with this, they don't see the point because it is a rigid system that is, in the most part, depending on your teacher and the curriculum and the school, based out of memory. So how can we memorize a formula so that we can later pass the test and then forget about it? And I always saw learning as answering questions to my curiosity, which I think is a good perspective to have. Even it would fit in well when modernizing school systems. How do we engage students so that we engage their curiosity and answers the questions that they want to know,
mm-hmm.
and fit them into a curriculum? Kind of the Montessori system. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I've heard of Montessori schools. I don't know that much about them.
Yeah, so basically the Montessori schools let kids just explore
mm-hmm.
and determine what they want to learn. I'm not an expert on it, but that's my understanding.
I was thinking about this today, or not today, a couple of days ago. How cool it would be to have I don't know if you ever did these kind of like camps when you were young. I did this one, and I think it was spring break, and my mom just didn't want to she's like, just go do this. And it was this like bike building camp where like it was at this bike shop, and you had to pick out a bike that was all busted up, and then they would teach you how to fix it, and then you get to take the bike with you. But I was thinking they should have one of those, but it was like a entrepreneur business type of thing, but like kid centered.
Yeah.
So like for high schoolers, maybe middle schoolers, and you get to go through this little workshop where it's like, okay, what business do you want to try doing? And then you learn about making your own business, and then you get to try it. Maybe it fails, and you're like, okay, well, I learned. I think that would be cool.
That would be
pick your own business.
That would make me love school. Okay, the Will and Diego school coming out
yeah.
2025.
The business camp for children.
Little suits.
Yeah. Someone else on the podcast, Harrison Coley, was telling me his business when he was like 11. He would do lemonade at the farmer's market, but it was like combined with magic.
Mm-hmm.
So for every cup of coffee or every cup of lemonade, they would do a trick. Him and his friend would do a magic trick. So there's like a little bit of extra novelty thrown in.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool.
I think the
Eliminated
most
magic.
impressive I've heard was actually Avi as well. When he was on the podcast, he said he would do he would like sell video games, but he would just like copy them and paste them from his computer onto whatever form that like he could sell them, and then he would sell them for like
Yeah.
$8 to kids. So
Oh, wow.
it's like, damn, dude, that's
Damn,
pretty,
Avi, going strong.
pretty
Since back in
legit
the
business.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, video games are now like $60.
Yeah.
Up. Before it was like $30.
Yeah,
back in
probably.
the day.
But yeah, he could just make duplicates and sell them.
Smart.
This is when he was like really young, probably like 12 years old. So going back to this like education, so Montessori is like leaving things open. And
Yeah.
do you feel like your education growing up had that in it, or
Definitely
was it not? No.
No, very rigid.
Yeah.
Yes, the traditional rigid school system. It's a really good school, and I had professors. There were topics that did interest me. It just wasn't my choosing. It's like, okay, I'm interested in this, but not because I'm interested. The teacher, or it's engaging, or it resonates with me. And I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, schools are very important, and having a curriculum is important to develop multiple skill sets in multiple areas. But there is definitely areas to improve, to allow kids and students to ask more questions and choose what they want to learn, while also making sure they learn the fundamentals.
I don't think I ever learned something in school because I was curious about it. I think for me, it was always like, I wish I had that, but it was always like result driven. It was like, I want to get a good grade.
Yeah. No, I feel you. What about the Roman Empire, Will?
That was it.
That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Well, there's tons of stuff I'm super interested in now. Like I have a ton of books, and I love reading.
Yeah. Well, there's also the kids framing. It's like school is a chore.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that challenge. How to
even
make it
if
engaging.
even if you found something interesting, then it's like a week later you're on a new unit.
Yeah, you
You're learning
forget
something
it.
brand new. That's like, you don't get to look at that thing anymore that
Right.
you really liked.
Which brings me to my second point about understanding how to learn. So you learn through attention, emotion, and repetition, so that your neural pathways reinforce what you learn. So learning it from different angles, different point of views, learning it again and again, that's how you truly understand something and make connections from other topics. And homeworks and projects and tests are designed for repetition. It's like you learn it, then you do the homework, then you do the project, then you do the test. But as most of us know, it doesn't really work. It's like you forget most of it because you have no interest in it, so it doesn't have your attention, and it is based more on memorization, repetition through memorization rather than repetition through curiosity and engagement on your brain. So you retain a lot less. Yeah, and when I understood this, it's like Bob, like, oh, I know how to learn, and I can just grasp more information more efficiently by learning it multiple times and then thinking about it, now writing about it, and organizing my thoughts, dissecting the idea, looking at the counter argument, multiple points. Yeah.
And so has that changed? Like, so that's almost how you have reinvigorated your curiosity, coming out of a school system that didn't really harness it.
Right.
And then you actually went in and were like, okay, but how do I learn?
Yeah. I remember when I was a teenager or a kid, the internet was just developing and you could get information out of blogs. And I remember going home like, why is the sky blue? Why do dogs bark? Stuff like that kids ask. I remember retaining that information because it was because I wanted to learn that. And as the internet evolved, there was more information out there, not only through my curiosity by me searching it, but through algorithms presenting information that I'm already interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So the algorithms help reinforce your learning because that's a good side. It presents information that you've already engaged in and shown interest in. But if you are not careful, it can also reinforce your cognitive bias, and you just consume the same information and you don't look at different perspectives. And that is where my third point comes in. How do you navigate the landscape of an abundance of information, of which most of it is misinformation or half truths, which was also a big challenge I had to figure out by stating things with confidence, and then someone that understands the topic being like, what are you talking about? That's not true. And I was like, yes, it's true. Yeah, and then just having the mindfulness and awareness of understanding that I am probably wrong a lot of times, and that you are always on a path of growing and learning. So I developed a kind of like a formula of consuming information. So consuming, if there's a piece of information, then understanding different sides of it, different biases, where the information is coming from, like the source, what are their biases, and do they engage in research or investigation, or are they just repeating things, or just saying things based out of mechanisms, or just not having any investigation or research behind it. Like an example is functional medicine, integrative functional medicine. I think it is a great area that has developed in the medical field because it looks at the body in a holistic way, which is great. However, a lot of authoritative figures, doctors, speak to the mechanisms of things. Let me give you an example. There's a lot of doctors speaking about seed oils and how they are bad for your health, which is a half truth, because they state that it is inflammatory to your body. It is highly oxidized, so it creates oxidative stress within your body, which is true. But then when you go to clinical research and clinical studies, you don't find those results. And clinical research is really important because it's the gold standard of understanding things in the medical field and in other areas. And this has been studied significantly, and there are multiple papers, and depending on the study design, on the quality of the paper, of the research, it has shown that it does not have a negative effect in your health when accounting for calories. The main reason why seed oils can be detrimental is because you engage in a caloric surplus, because they're very caloric dense and they are removed from nutrients. So it's like opportunity cost. You can either be consuming extra virgin olive oil, which has great phytonutrients and antioxidants, or you can just be using seed oils, which go through multiple processes, which remove all the nutrients and all the benefits. Sorry to bore you. I know that was a lot.
No, I know it is very interesting, and I noticed that with seed oils because it was another, and it got me too. Like when I started to hear that, I was like, okay, yeah, that's seed oils must be bad.
Yeah.
But then I realized a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's just because I saw like a thumbnail. So it was like, it was my base level. Like, I'm not saying I studied this or anything. I just saw a thumbnail that was like, seed oils aren't bad. And it was like some controversial take from a doctor. And what I realized was not that seed oils are good or bad, but just like, oh, this is like another thing that got me. That was like, this is what's been wrong with my diet, is seed oils are bad.
Yeah.
And I think that happens to a lot of people. And it's happened to me before, like where I like learn about eating keto. And then I'm like, carbs are the reason I've been like,
right.
Yeah, something's wrong with that because I've been eating carbs, whatever it is along the way.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting just to pick that up where I was like, okay, I got hooked on this thing that seed oils are the problem. And I don't know if they are or they're not, but it's interesting that
Yeah,
and that happens with fad diets all the time.
that's a great point. A lot of these nutrients get demonized. A lot of these foods get demonized. The real reason why they can have negative consequences are not being portrayed. And when authoritative figures speak with certainty, like seed oils are bad and they're gonna kill you and kill your family too.
Then it just misses.
Yeah,
they miss an opportunity.
Like in the scientific field, you can't speak with absolute certainty. You can speak with confidence when there is an abundance of research pointing in the direction. But things change over time. But that overwhelming evidence is where you want to point the direction towards.
Right.
And there are a lot of influencers and people in the medical field that claim that they have the answer and that this is for sure what's causing something. But in reality, our bodies are a very complex system of networks that get affected by multiple things. And the most important factors to watch out for that have been thoroughly studied is a surplus of calories. So overweight, it is very pro-inflammatory. It is very degrading for your health, and it is what kills you faster and the biggest risk factor of most chronic illnesses. Malnutrition or undernutrition, which means you're not consuming the nutrients you need. If you are eating McDonald's every day, but you're not caloric maintenance or deficit, you're still missing key nutrients. You might not be dying as fast as being obese, but you're not optimizing your health.
There's a really interesting book called The Dorito Effect. It talks about how the flavor of food has been so scientifically messed with, to the point that it is all just about overconsumption.
This is a huge issue in terms of our economic system, our capitalistic system, which is great for progress, but it has hijacked our dopaminergic system and certain neurotransmitters so that we consume more.
Yep.
Like you said, a Dorito is high on sugar, high on salts, high on fats. I don't know about fats, but maybe. But usually, the combination of fats, sugar, and salt are very highly palatable. So
and flavor. Them. There's the flavor too.
And the flavor. So it's like a mouth orgasm.
It gets you, yeah.
It gets you, and you don't stop consuming it because it does not engage your satiating mechanisms, like your hormones. What is it? Ghrelin.
There's leptin.
Leptin
is maybe the hunger one. I don't remember which is which.
Yeah, leptin and ghrelin.
Is leptin the one that signals hunger or satiety?
Do
you know?
I think ghrelin signals satiety.
Okay.
Sorry if we're confusing you guys, but it's one of each.
But yes, that's another part of the book is talking about how when you eat things, it's flavored as if it's a real food, but then it's not the same food that it's flavored as.
Yeah.
And when you eat a real food, like when you eat an apple, there are certain toxins within the apple. They're not really bad for you, but your body after a certain point is I don't want more of that. It builds up, you get a certain amount. But if you eat a green apple candy,
right,
it doesn't have those other things in it that your body can detect and be like, okay, I've had enough of that.
Yeah, you're not full. You just keep popping them
so
in.
You just keep
just
eating them.
Inhaling them. Yeah. It's like the Siete chips. Have you tried them?
The healthy ones?
Healthy. I mean, they're healthier in the sense that they have more nutrients in them, but you can still easily overconsume them. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've devoured 2 bags while I'm high. They're pretty good. Good job, Siete.
They're good.
Yeah, but they're still highly palatable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very easy to overconsume.
Yeah, there is an interesting thing there, which is like you mentioned, the capitalistic system, which this doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just this is where it's gone off the rails a little, which is you only have a certain number of people. Like imagine McDonald's. You have a certain number of people. You can get some more people to eat your product, but what's the better way? Just get them to eat more of it.
Yeah.
Get the people who are already eating your product
Right.
to eat more.
Right.
And so that's, a recipe for disaster for the people eating it.
Yeah.
Which is that you overconsume.
So lifetime value, keep them coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And jumping back to your point of eating a lot of green beans or whatever, tasting like apples. Like let's say a very highly processed loaf of bread. You can probably eat a shit ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
Try eating natural sourdough. How much sourdough can you consume? Yeah, it's or like you said, a candy versus an apple. You can't consume 10 apples because it's full of fiber and it'll get you full real quickly.
Yeah, even eating like for me, eating like real honey, there's a limit to what I even want.
Right.
If I just ate honey at a certain point, I'm like, okay, that's like I hit that point. Or like real maple syrup, I have that same thing.
Yeah.
But the artificial maple syrup, I don't hit that point. I just want to keep eating
Get it through my nose too. Yeah, and that's why in the wild, or you can, well, there's multiple factors, but if you compare urban society with tribes in different areas, they are usually not overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because we've engineered our food to be void of nutrients and have a surplus of calorie and be ultra palatable. Mm-hmm. So that combo creates a recipe for disaster. And what do you think? Because we've been speaking about this topic in multiple areas. Capitalism, because of its design being profit, designs their products to be highly dopaminergic so that we consume them. Social media, porn, food, movies. Yeah, like try watching an independent film versus watching a Marvel film.
Right.
It's like, yeah, that's why Marvel films are
watched by the masses.
Watched by masses because it's very highly dopaminergic. Do you think there should be regulations for this, or how should societies work to have a more balance? How can we protect consumers from very addictive, I say quote unquote because addictive is a clinical term, but it's used sparingly, from very addictive products that are very hard to avoid? Coming to your brand, that willpower can't do shit against subconscious triggers.
Right.
So whose responsibility is it? Because it does affect profit. The less they consume, the less is produced.
Yeah.
So what's a good balance? I don't know. Stay tuned.
Yeah, no, it's a very challenging thing to think about, because I don't believe there should be too much regulation to the point where like the benefits of capitalism and free markets are lost. I think there are necessarily going to be growing pains. So like probably the past 50 years have been a boom in terms of like understanding how people use products, and capitalism as a whole has really taken off. More on the consumer side than ever before. So that's when we've seen the rise in products that are like the food things or TV or whatever, things that capture our attention, things that we use in excess in unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
And so I think we are still it's going to take time, but I think it's going to be awareness on the consumer side that's going to counteract these things. Because like you've heard the saying, like you vote with your dollars.
Yes.
Like in capitalist like societies, if you don't spend money on something, that company is not going to survive. If no one's buying it, then there's no more need for that. So I think it's going to be a slow process because we do have these like initial reactions,
right,
which are the dopaminergic, the like getting pulled into something. But then there's the like people like you who have realized this and are like making smarter decisions, making decisions that aren't fueled by that immediate reaction.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I agree with that to a certain extent, because even though we're speaking of this, we are in a bubble. Most of the world is not aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they are, let's say with climate change, people are aware that climate change very detrimental and has a lot of long-lasting effects. In the consumer side, there's the change compared to the supply side that can be made through consumer changes is insignificant compared to what can be made through legislation and government, because we've seen it time and time again. And yes, it helps to move the conversation. And if we had a system where the voices of the people were truly heard compared to lobbyism, like big lobby money, then it perhaps would have an effect. But money in politics is a thing. Even now, like you can see what's going on more than ever. And we are trapped. We want change, and we understand what would make things better and the conversation that we should be having. But it is not the conversation that's going on in Washington or in local government, because big money dictates the conversation, and the solutions would be highly unprofitable for them, because we've tried. Well, not me. Well, kind of, we are trying.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, I guess for me, just the thought of even going through a government for solution is just like so big in scale and so unknown that I can't even imagine how it would work. But I mean, they banned porn in Texas. That's something.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, even if it's for like, I don't know why they did, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it's for a time people defended porn because of freedom of speech and liberty, which is a good point. But it has very negative effects
on kids, especially
on kids,
young
kids,
boys for sure.
On men, highly dopaminergic. It removes the need for connection, or the want for connection. The need for connection is still there. And especially in a society that is very individualistic as the American society. Yeah, it has so many detrimental effects, and everyone gets affected, but primarily men consume porn more than women.
I think for sure.
And
that's that.
In terms of frequency.
Yeah, so I think there's a fine line between the government putting in regulations that are genuinely positive and then also overstepping, because you want to be careful that like freedoms aren't stepped on and then you end up in 1984, that kind of place.
I guess my point of view would be the incentives should align. So capitalism, the incentive is profit, so we should some way, through frameworks, through legislation, through consumerism. Is that a word? Consumerism.
I think so.
Through consumption, align the incentive of our well-being with profit.
Right.
Unless we design another system that creates progress, which capitalism is the best system so far.
See, I'm imagining, like, think about if there was a product that could somehow, or not even a product, just something that could tell you the overall effect of something. Like a way that people could understand their brain chemicals better, where it's like, okay, you can have this thing, but you're going to feel like this later. It's really going to do this to you. You can eat this Chick-fil-A, but in 2 hours, you're going to feel tired and way worse than you do right now. Some way of like extending that outward. I think that would be a similar, it wouldn't exactly put it on the company because that's hard to do, but it would put the power back in the people's hands because they can recognize what things are actually doing to them.
That's a good point. And you mentioned this for on the beginning of our conversation, how just knowing how fast food would affect you made you desire it less. Yeah, that's a great point. Mexico, on products that are high in calories, high in sodium and whatnot, they stamped a huge label on the cans, on the churros, on the chips. Did shit. Didn't do shit. So it's a hard problem.
This is very futuristic, but imagine you had like some kind of like chip that you could buy, or like
Neuralink,
like the these
the
glucose monitors people keep getting now. Like imagine having one of those, but it's like your dopamine. And so you can like keep track of your dopamine, and you're like, okay, when I eat this thing, I get a spike.
That'd be good.
But then it drops. And so then you just have awareness, and you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to actually eat the Chick-fil-A because I know what it's going to do to my dopamine.
I love this point because it ties all of our conversation together, in the sense that how we started is about our habits and how we manage all this.
Basically our lives are like trying to hide from these capitalistic people.
And you use the Aura ring, but your body is great at measuring all this. If you're sleepy, if you're thirsty, if you're hungry, hunger and appetite are two different things. So understanding the difference is really important. You're usually never hungry unless you go without eating for a while. You're usually craving or having appetite. Our bodies are great at telling us this information, but without us having the knowledge of why and what that information is, then it's hard to make conscious decisions to change our habits. So yes, there is the route of technology helping us understand all this, but there's also the route of education. And how can we build better education systems that allow us to better understand ourselves and our triggers and desires and the outcomes that come from them.
Yeah. I honestly think like Andrew Huberman has been a extreme net positive for the world.
Yeah. Yes.
I think people like that make a big difference.
It is a constant battle between informed influencers and podcasters, and we can call them teachers, which of course they make mistakes, and science it's always changing, but they stay within the fine line of presenting information that is evidence-based, and the abundance of influencers and authoritative figures that just say shit.
Right.
So bringing it back to our conversation, how do we consume information that we can trust and rely on, based on science? Because, and I had this feeling for a long time, because of my own health challenges, I felt that doctors and the medical field disappointed me. They weren't helping me out with my medical issues. So I had to go on my own and research, and then fall into this misinformation, which it worked because a lot of it advocate for better habits and eating better, but with half truths, and then I had to rediscover evidence and science again.
Right. What's something you are currently struggling with?
I am a night owl, and most of my friends aren't. Society is also a very rigid 9-to-5 society in general, and this pushes my productivity time later during the day. So I've been struggling to manage my schedules to be the most optimized for myself, and sometimes having to sacrifice sleep, which is for me the most important pillar of health, although they are all important. Sacrifice sleep and just have a different schedule than my friends.
Yeah, being out of line with people, because it's very hard to be friends with people when your schedules don't line up.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's like always, like our schedules will never line up.
Awareness is a very important part. And yeah, I mean, I might sometimes have to sacrifice myself and make myself a morning person.
Yeah. So on your Instagram, you have happy as one of your things, and you are genuine. Like when I see you, you are a happy person.
Appreciate
from
you.
the outside. So how do you maintain that?
Yeah, I think understanding that happiness is a mental state. It is not a objective thing. Sort of like sadness. It's like, how can I be sad? It's like, I am sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling sad. No, I am. You don't want to be your feelings, but
right. Observe
them. Yeah. So how can I be happy? I can sleep well. I can eat properly. I can have a community. I can follow my purpose and work on what I like. And when I'm sad, I am aware and I don't let myself spiral, even though it's hard. It's like when you're sick, you don't want to eat. So when you're sad, meditate and do the stuff you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And regulating my dopaminergic system. How do I leave myself certain neurochemicals in my bloodstream so that I can use them in my favor and not feel burnt out and sad? It's really curious because when I feel burnt out and I feel like overconsumed dopamine and I don't have enough circulating through my bloodstream, even funny stuff is not even that funny anymore. Happiness, a mental state, not a thing. In a general way, most humans reach that state through a balanced, healthy lifestyle, friends and community, so relationships, purpose, and balancing your neurotransmitters so that you're not depleted of them and you use them the right amount. Don't overuse them.
Yeah, and it's so true. When you feel bad, like the best thing you can do is usually like the worst thing or the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, right.
But it's all those things that really make a difference and can really like shift your mood. And
yeah, it's like when you're depleted of dopamine, the thing that your brain asks is more dopamine. Let's watch memes, let's watch porn and social media, eat sugar. What you really need, do nothing. Just be bored. Be okay with being bored, which is a skill. Boredom is not bad. Or meditate. Yoga Nidra is a tool I use very frequently. Do you know what that is?
The body scan.
Yeah, kind of body scan. Yep. Well, Andrew Huberman talks about, speaks to this, that there's evidence that it generates dopamine. There's no overwhelming evidence, but yeah, it's pointing towards that direction, and at least it just helps you not consume it as much.
What does your dream life look like?
It looks like how I am now. Continue this path, having a beautiful relationship, a wife, a family, a dog, and just working on my passions. Before, I was very adamant on I will be very successful. I will be a billionaire and I will use this capital to make millions and billions of people's life better. And I'm good with that if I'm able to, but I know that being very successful requires many sacrifice, and sometimes, more often than not, you're sacrificing that mental state of happiness because there's so much time in your day. You sacrifice the time to meditate, your sleep, because capitalism is based on competition, and if you're not doing enough, then the other guy is. the other guy or girl is.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a balanced life that is conducive towards happiness, towards love, towards abundance, community relationships. Yeah, being resilient. There's always going to be challenges, and there's always going to be pain and hurt. So basically, never die. Brian Johnson.
Don't die.
No, just die happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I resonate with a lot of that. I think, yeah, continuing on what I'm doing, just feeling purpose in what I do. I don't really feel like I need a lot of money. I feel like I just need enough money to not feel stressed about it ever.
Right.
So definitely above a certain level,
freedom.
But yeah, but not like, I actually was thinking about this. I think I would like the amount of money where like I can take my dog wherever I want.
Oh.
Like where I could take her with me.
Yeah.
And like have someone watch her, whatever, however that works out. I want to get to the point where I can take my dog wherever I go. Yeah, I think that's for that. I want to have like a lot of space, like a big area of land. That would be beautiful. Having a house with like woods surrounding,
nature.
Or at the very least living right nearby, something like that. Living near friends, having a regular routine of seeing friends, of being just around people, ideally working with people who I enjoy, who I like, eating healthy, sleeping well, all that.
Yeah. Well, nature is a very important part.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be around animals. And
all right, Diego. Thanks for coming on. We did it.
Woo, little dance.
Tell me, or tell everybody where they can find you, learn more about what you're doing, all that.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the space. This was a very fun conversation, and looking forward to having more.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow me at Diego Pecci in Instagram, DIEGO PECHI. That's my personal account. I have my photography and videography account. It's called Momentum-Abundance. Momentos in Spanish, abundance. And you can follow me around town. I'm in Austin. Hit me up.
Yeah, Diego's around.
Yeah, I'm around.
When I had Avi on, he just gave his phone number. He's like, I don't really know. You can just text me.
Oh, Lord.
You don't have to do that. I wasn't.
No, I get too many spam calls already.
Yeah. No, I don't put my number. Cool, man. Well, let's wrap it up. And yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Appreciate you. This is amazing.
All right. Bye, everybody.